I'm Lindsay Moore and welcome to my podcast, In Conversation with SMEs, or Seriously Motivated Entrepreneurs. Founder of Agnes Marketing, I'm a business development and marketing advisor to small businesses. In challenging times like these, we need to support our small businesses more than ever. So my aim through this podcast is to bring inspiration, motivation and energy to those looking to start, scale or pivot their business by hearing the stories of others who have been brave, followed their heart, kept their nerve and achieved something quite remarkable. Throughout this series, I'll be speaking to my favourite small businesses and acclaimed entrepreneurs and asking them about their highs, their lows, their wish-had-knowns and what single piece of advice they would give themselves now if they were starting out. I had such a great time recording this interview with Jonny Bongo, co-founder of Bongo's Bingo. We chat about the explosion of Bongo's Bingo since it burst into life in 2015 as a bingo rave night in Liverpool and how it's become a global success with almost 50 locations worldwide. We talk about the Monday night pub quiz he used to run back in the day at the Shipping Forecast in Liverpool, where the rounds were interspersed with challenges like how many hot and spicy chicken wings you can put away. And we talk about the little gems you find when you clear out your loft, in particular my Elvis sunglasses, which I think he wanted for himself, actually. Enjoy. Jonny, thanks so much for being here today. I'm just so pleased to be talking to you.
No, it's good to talk. Good to see you.
No, thanks ever so much. Well, one of the reasons, there's many reasons I want to talk to you, Jonny, but basically, aside from Bongo's Bingo being my favourite night out, as a small business owner myself and as an advisor to small businesses, I just find I look at you with what you've achieved as a business, really, and I just think it's so amazing. And I'm just really looking forward to talking to you a bit about that and asking you a bit more about that today. For people who may not be aware of Bongo's Bingo, I know you started it obviously in 2015 and it was like a bingo rave night in Liverpool that you put on. And it's just grown phenomenally now, hasn't it? So you're in almost 50 venues internationally. And some months you do 130 shows. For people who may not have been to a Bongo's Bingo and experienced it, how would you describe it?
It's always a tough one. Trying to, you've been yourself, and obviously trying to explain to people what it's like can be quite hard, and without sounding like a bit cheesy, you kind of do have to kind of go to see what it's all about. But in its simplest form, like it's still bingo. That's one thing that's been really, really important, is that people's there's been other theme bingo nights and people, different things like, musical bingo or whatever. But one of the reasons why I think it's been successful is the fact that we've stuck to bingo. You still will play by the normal rules, and then it's just everything else that is added into it. So, music and crazy prizes and just good fun, really.
Oh, do you know, I mean, if I can explain to you my experience of it, because I knew it was going to be a great night out, but I mean,
You didn't get thrown out, did you? No.
I didn't get, not this time, didn't get through this time, no. But I mean, you get there and the place is bouncing, isn't it? So there's like people on the benches and the music is just like inspired. Like, you'll be dancing to a 90s rave track 1 minute and then sing Hosanna and then, S Club 7 and it's bouncing and it's like, you're having an amazing time. And then you'll go eyes down and then everyone just sits down and then is on their bingo dabbers and you can hear a pin drop in the place, and obviously the theme and the sort of the focus is the bingo, but I feel that it's like it's an evening of contrasts completely, isn't it? So you'll
Absolutely.
be dancing and then you'll be playing bingo and then you'll be given an amazing prize like £1,000 or a holiday or a jar of applesauce. It's like it's inspired. And I'd love to sort of ask you about how did it come about, and where'd you get your ideas for all that craziness?
So when it started, I used to do a pub quiz in Liverpool, and I did that for about 5 years, and it was more it was on a much smaller scale. It was in a bar called the Shipping Forecast,
Yeah.
and it was just called Jonny Bongo's Monday Night Pub Quiz. And it got like a real sort of cult status. And it would be packed. The pub would hold about 300 people, and I mean, it would be packed every Monday night. And I did this for years, and the idea behind it was like I used to love going to pub quizzes. I used to love it, but sometimes I felt that they could be just a little bit boring or a little bit stale. So all my concept was just breathing life of a little bit of creativity into this pub quiz, and a lot of the elements that are at the bingo were in this quiz. So you'd have really like nostalgic music, really eclectic mix. You'd have sort of mad bonus rounds where people from each team would get up and make clothes out of newspaper, or chicken wing eating challenge, or just whatever. And then you'd have in the middle of it, the music round, you'd have a rave, and it was just the sort of some of the questions were just normal questions, and then some of them would be a bit sort of off the cuff, like which is the better Viennetta, like original or mint. Do you know that, by the way? Which is the better Viennetta?
Original.
That's the
Oh,
correct answer.
actually,
Yeah.
oh my
No,
goodness.
that was right. You were right. Don't go down the mint route.
They just tried to mess with it, didn't they?
So that was the kind of, so I did this quiz, and I'd been doing it for years, and I wanted to do another night. I wanted to come up with another concept, and bingo had been on my mind, and also speed dating as well. I had this idea of doing like a sort of alternative speed dating night. Anyway, I went with a bingo, and I it's funny. I'm a guy that I knew called Josh Burke, who's my
Yeah.
business partner. We're co-owners of the bingo. He was running club nights in Liverpool, and he had came to me and spoke to me saying, "I want to do some event with you." And anyway, the bingo was born out of that, and all the sort of elements from, because again, bingo is a good game. I've played in Gala or Mecca or wherever. It's fun, but sometimes it can be a little bit stale and a little bit boring. So just by breathing in, a different spin on it, I think that's the most important thing with it.
Absolutely. And for me, like it just your whole night, it just oozes authenticity as well. So like my mum, one of the pieces of advice she always gave to us like forever is just be true to yourself. Be true to yourself. If you're true to yourself, you won't go far wrong. And to me, it feels like Bongo's Bingo is you and your mates being totally true to yourself, sitting down thinking about what the type of night almost that you'd really like to go to and what you'd laugh, because some of it's quite edgy, isn't it, and so it can be a
Yeah.
bit raw, but but it all works because I think it feels to me that you're just being yourself and it's just
Well,
out there. Is that fair? Is
no,
it
no,
just
you've really hit the nail on the head, because like, yeah, there can be a couple of, jokes that might be a wee bit raunchy, but none of it's done for that reason.
yeah,
A lot of the shows, and it's the same, now we have, I think it's 9 hosts, and a lot of the hosts are a little bit different in their style, but some can be a little bit more sort of edgy than others. But
yeah,
everyone, the key thing is being yourself. And we're like on stage, I'm up there with like my best mates,
yeah,
and I'm working with my best mates and my business partner. We're all, and I think again that's another reason why it's worked. We've created something that we would like to go to, and it's never been although it's successful, and it
yeah,
makes money, it's never been a right, let's like really milk this and try and make as much money as possible, because then it wouldn't have worked. For me, well, it's probably a bad side on a business level. I just sort of go wild. I'm not worried about budgets. I'd give as much money away every night. But my business partner, he's the sort of the business side of it, so he's sort of reining it back. Like, here's profit and loss sheets. I'm like, I don't even know what that is. What's that about? And so we've created something where we want to give the best experience to the customers, and try and give as much back. So all the ticket money comes in. Most of that is back on prizes and budget for set and production, and we've just tried to grow it. And as you're saying about the night going up and down, the whole night, it never stays the same. I think another reason why it's been so popular is there's nothing really else like that, and the way we've been sort of looking at it at the moment is that it's almost a form of escapism. Like, people aren't on their phones. You don't have time to be like, because you're concentrating on bingo one minute, then a 90s banger comes on and you're standing up, and then the numbers, and the whole night you don't have time to keep up. And sometimes if you sort of switch off a bit, you'll just be like, hold on, what's going on? There's a Henry Hoover there. What are we doing? What, and so because you've got that in it, no one's on their phones really.
Yeah,
Everyone's really focused, and everyone's on the same sort of level, because we on stage don't take ourselves seriously. I don't really class myself as a DJ or a performer or a comedian. Our dancers are just my mates dressed up having a
yeah,
laugh. They're not professional drag artists. They're just like, we want to sit people in the crowd to watch us on stage and go, they're having a laugh.
yeah.
So we
We
don't want.
are.
It's not like we're not like, look at us, everyone, sit down. It's kind of like, look at us, do what we're doing, get involved, and
And
that
that
and
really,
that's really important.
and it really comes across that, because it feels like there's nothing pretentious in the slightest about it. Is
No,
there? I mean, when I went, I think there was someone on my table who was having an 18th, and then someone was like, there was a 70th going on,
yeah,
and then everyone goes home at 11 o'clock.
it's kind of like it's like a perfect package, I think, because sometimes when you go out, well, obviously that's an important thing, is it appeals to everyone, and you don't, at the very very start when we first started, for the first maybe year, I think anyone over 30 sort of thought, oh, is this a student thing? I don't know what this is.
Yeah,
And that was never what it was geared at. But the first night we did was a Thursday night, which was sort of synonymous with students going out. But then it was the kind of thing where people were like, "Oh, my mum, my dad will like this," and bring them along, and they're going, "Oh, your granny and granddad would like this." So we do have all generations and all different sort of, it's not pretentious, and especially one thing that works as well is that, you know, for people that don't maybe usually, like, we would be one that would be first on the dance floor, or kind of, you know when you're there, everyone's just on the same wavelength, so
yeah.
you kind of just get sucked into it. So if you're not the kind of person that's like, oh, that's not for me, I don't want to be up dancing, or but when you go, it's hard not to get caught up on it, because if you're the only one sitting down, then that's where you look out of place then, rather than dancing up with everyone else.
No, absolutely. And do you think that it's that sort of, you were saying about the authenticity and just it's you and your mates being, do you think that's really what's made it the success? Because you haven't been trying too hard in that
Yeah,
respect.
yeah, to an extent, we try hard, as in making the
Yeah.
show as best as we can, but it's not try hard. I know what you mean.
How many people do you have is it like 1,000 people of a night?
So yeah, so our venues are all different, but they're usually, yeah, from around 700-800. The Liverpool venues, it's 900. So yeah.
So let me ask you then, um, have you always been creative? Have you always come up with these mad ideas?
Yeah, I think, well, I don't know. I think I've always just wanted to. I've probably haven't necessarily had the drive to do something of a creative level. I've always worked in bars and restaurants, and different offices and stuff. But I've always had a little bit on the side, whether that be DJing, or doing my pub quiz, or doing a bit of hosting or MCing and stuff like that. So I've always, uh, sort of delved into it a little bit, and I ended up, through the quiz, getting some work on, Juice FM, which is Capital now. So I
Yeah.
started getting a little bit of radio work in. Again, nothing that I'd ever sort of necessarily wanted to do, but I really enjoyed it, and a lot of opportunities came from that. And at one point, I sort of thought, if the bingo had never happened, I think I probably would have went down a route of maybe radio. Um, but I don't know whether it's luck or fate, or whatever you would call it, but things certain doors have always opened, and from little things that I've done, and from an early age, my mom was always said, oh, you're going to be on the telly, you're going to be on the telly, and I'm like, no, that's not necessarily something I want to do, or you're going to do this, you're going to do that. And then through the bingo, um it's kind of let me sort of be myself and be creative, and kind of, and people have really loved what we're doing. It's a
Yeah.
tough one to explain. Like, I've never wanted to be a star or a celebrity, but the fact that what I'm doing is I'm really enjoying it. I get to make people laugh and people really happy, and also the people that we work with. Everyone loves their job. Everyone's really invested on what the bingo is and the ethos of the company. So that in itself makes me really happy.
So you never set out to run a global business.
No, no. My business partner, on the other hand, he's always
Yeah,
wanted to have, he's got a real entrepreneurial sort of like drive, and he did business in university, and he's always been in the events industry, and he's always really forward thinking. Over the years, we've kind of realized that although I'm sort of this creative one, my business acumen, I've kind of been all right as well. For him, he's come up with a lot of stuff, and sometimes I have to rein him back on a level the way he reins me back. I sort of say, oh, well, let's take our time, and we've probably learned a lot of each other, and I think that's one of the key things as well. The fact that if I'd started this up with someone very similar to myself, it probably wouldn't have done anything. Whereas if Josh had set this up with someone like himself, I think the fact that we've got a completely different skill set and we're learning off each other
yeah,
is amazing. From where we were at the start, it was Josh that wanted to expand the business, and I'm thinking, oh, listen, we've got a good thing on here in Liverpool. This is great. And he's
yeah,
going, no, look, Manchester, Leeds, let's do it. And I'm going like, whoa, no, they won't like it there. They only like it in Liverpool. So he's pushing me to sort of do stuff, and it worked. And the same thing, with him. Like, I've come up with lots of concepts, and it's
yeah.
worked really well on the business note.
And how do you find that in different cities? Do you feel that on the whole everyone is up to it, or do you notice like different vibes going on with different locations, and do things work for some cities that don't work for the others? Or
Yeah, I think it's tailored a little bit. When we first couple of years, I was the only host, so I was doing 5 shows a week, across the country. On a usual week, it would be Manchester on a Tuesday, Leeds Wednesday, Liverpool Thursday, Newcastle Friday, and London on a Saturday. And I did that for about a year,
oh my
and
God.
yeah, it was tough going. But your difference, like your Newcastles, your Glasgows, Liverpool, real sort of working class cities, industrial, like really good sense of humor, and it goes down well there. But the same for London. The thing now that we've got a number of different hosts, we can tailor them.
Yeah,
One of our hosts, Rich Furness, real Scouser, real broad, who actually goes down really well in Manchester. Like, they love him there, even though he does the Scouse thing, and certain numbers he's putting Mo Salah up on the screen and trying to stir it up a little bit, but it's all in good form. But then when he's done London, it might be a wee bit too. People might not get him the same way. So we've got a host from Brighton he does London. Whereas if we put the host from Brighton up in Glasgow, they'd be like, oh, who's this southerner? So, but as far as the actual event, you tailor it to a bit to each city, but with maybe the music and stuff. But really, as a package, it kind of works universally.
what do you enjoy most, and what do you think? Oh, which probably what you're glad you've got Josh for.
Yeah, exactly. For me, I really struggle with the sort of accounting, the account side and the staffing side, and it works well because we've almost got our own teams. So the guys that I look after will be the dancers, the hosts, the technicians for the lighting and sound technicians, and then
Yeah,
Josh is dealing with all our marketing team, all our expansion team.
yeah,
Um, but to be honest, there's not even though I'm not really clued in on Josh's side, it's not there's not really much. I don't really find there much negatives.
yeah,
It's just maybe something that I get bored too quick. If I'm in a meeting about marketing,
yeah.
10 minutes, and I'm just like, what? Whereas if Josh was in a meeting with me about, for 10 minutes about what kind of color unicorn we're going to give away, he'd be like, no, I'm wasting my time.
Can't believe anyone would think that was a waste of time. That's unbelievable.
Exactly. Unicorn chat.
I was a bit of a digress. I was thinking about your prizes actually at the weekend because we were clearing out our loft and there was an old Henry Hoover up there, and I know you give
Nice.
away a few Henry Hoovers,
Yeah,
and
we
then
do.
just as well you cannot see the room I'm sat in now because there's things that my husband would have just thrown everything away, but I'm like, oh, we can't throw that away. So my study at the moment is like a holding area for like random things that I wouldn't let him put in the tip, but I'm not even sure the charity shop would have. So I'm thinking,
I might have to have a little look through there. There could be
you
some
will.
gold there.
Do you want me to show you one? I
What
think
have you
you'll like
got?
this.
Right, let's have a look.
Hold on. Right. I'm looking at it. First of all, the Elvis glasses.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. The not doing it.
Not
Honestly,
really,
I
no.
think you look great in them. This is my particular favourite.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's nice. It's a porcelain dog that I bought at the charity shop as a
Right.
secret Santa. But it's too good. It's so bad, it's too good to give away. Well, I was just in a charity shop and there was this, a bit like that, a porcelain dog on a wooden plinth. And it had this plaque on it that said, "To Debbie, happy birthday, love mum." And I
Right.
thought, oh my God, that's random. So I thought, what's the odds on someone walking into the shop looking for a present for their daughter who's called Debbie
Yeah.
and finding this dog that looks just like their daughter's dog? And I'm thinking, who's going to buy that? So I went up now. I thought, I've got to buy it. So I went up and the two women behind the counter went, "God, this has only been out 3 days. We just didn't think it'd sell, because it was so specific to Debbie and her dog." And I went, "I'm amazed you've had it 3 days. I'm made up with it." So they were like, "We've got loads more like that out the back if you want." Anyway, I digress. Sorry about that. What's your biggest high? Would you say what's been the best bits of the last 5 years for you?
There's a number of things that one of the first times we put our tickets on to online, to selling tickets online. That was a massive thing for us. We were probably about a year and a half in, and it used to just be pay on the door.
Okay.
But what was happening was it was when we were only doing Liverpool. It might not have even been, it might have only been maybe 6 months in. And the show started at 8, doors opened at 6, and people would just pay. And once it was full, it was full. But what was happening was we were turning away over 1,000 people. So there would be 2,000 people queuing around the corner, and then the bouncers would go down the line with a clicker just before the doors open, and then say, "Right, that's where it stops. All you guys, sorry, you're not getting in." And although that's a great feeling to that's how popular the event is.
Yeah.
It wasn't fair, turning those people away. And what was happening as well was people were arriving so early. People were coming from 3, 4 o'clock just to get in the queue before the doors, and then they were drinking in the queue. And by the time they got in, they were so made up that they got in, they were just firing the shots back. So by the time show started, people were just paralytic everywhere. So we put the tickets online, and I remember, I remember that first night where they got released and the website crashed, and it turned out we were trying to sell 5,000 tickets, and we had, I think it was 300 to 400,000 people logging in to get those 3,000 tickets. And although it was stressful because right after they'd literally gone in, by the time someone had clicked them and they'd gone in someone's basket, that meant that they were sold out. So they were sold out within a couple of seconds. But then everyone started kicking off, like, what? How come they're sold out so quick? There's no tickets. They just give them to their mates. So that was amazing, and that was what it's been like. Every ticket release, they go on and they go. So that's always a high. Trying to think, when we did Australia, we did our first tour of Australia about 2 years in maybe. And me, Josh, a few of the dancers, and a technician, we went out to do 4 sold out shows around Australia. Like, that was just surreal.
Oh my God.
Like, really, really, really crazy. From something that's just started as a laugh and something, when it started to snowball. And the thing is as well, probably the overall high for me is just how much people really love it. It's very, very rare, that we get any negative feedback. I think we've got something like a couple of thousand reviews on Facebook, and we've got like 5-star rating or 4.9 or something. It's just so humbling, and it's just, I don't know. I have to pinch myself sometimes just to see it, feel how lucky I am to have started something, that people love, and it's just good fun and popular everywhere we go.
Oh well, and it will continue to be. So this year's been. I mean, we're recording this on the 27th of August, so it's just before the bank holiday weekend, and in the famous year of 2020. So you've got your first live events for this year. Well, not first. You've stopped in March, didn't you? But you've got your first live event since COVID all kicked off. That must be just really exciting for you, thinking about that this weekend.
Yeah, I think having that in the diary has been something to sort of keep focused on. Like on a personal level, I've really struggled over the lockdown, not doing anything. You know, it's been obviously great to spend so much time with the family but you know, not for me, having done 5 years of, you know, a lot of shows, a lot of adrenaline buzzes every week, you know, to just have nothing and also have no sort of real end in sight of when, you know, the events industry has been crippled with the whole pandemic, and you know, it's tough because we don't really know when the end is in sight. We've just released we're releasing this weekend our December tickets, obviously social distance and you know, but so I've got that in the pipeline as well. But yeah, these first shows, they're in Newcastle. They're in a socially distanced arena that they've built in the Newcastle racecourse, where basically everyone's got a section, a platform. So it's 2,500 people, all separated in groups of 5 in these little like almost pens.
Wow.
And it looks good. I'm just buzzing. It's a festival, big festival stage, and Newcastle's amazing. The crowd up there is just brilliant. So I'm just like absolutely buzzing for it. Again, it's so lucky that what we do is get to work with all our mates. So that in itself, with the lockdown, you know, you know, I'm so used to spending pretty much most of my time with these group of lads.
Yeah.
And you know, this is the first time we'll be getting in the van and going somewhere to do a gig. So like it almost will be for me, because you know, mostly now I just do Liverpool. I'll do, you know, the occasional sort of show maybe in Ibiza or Dubai. But you know, we've got all our hosts that are designated to different cities, so it's actually going to be a bit of a blast from the past, getting in the van and going like on the road, which was some of the best times of bingo, some of the messiest times, but like, but just like real camaraderie.
Oh, Newcastle are in for one hell of a day and
Yeah, I
night on
can't wait.
Sunday. They really are. Oh my God, you'll be back with a vengeance. And just to finish, then, I'd like to ask you what advice would you give anyone who's got who's thinking of, like, maybe they're not even thinking of starting a business, but like you said, maybe they've got a side hustle going on, or you know, what advice would you give to anybody who's starting out, really?
It's probably a bit of a cliche, but to always just sort of give everything a go, and you know, surround yourself with the right sort of people. As I said, like if you're going into something with, you're going to maybe get a business partner or set up a business team, you know, look at people that have different skill sets. There's absolutely no point in doing something with someone that can just do exactly the same as you and don't bring anything else to the table. Like, although that can be a bit harsh sometimes, maybe, but you know, you want to have as much strings to your bow. Is that right?
Yeah,
Strings to your
good
bow?
advice it
Well,
is. Yeah, yeah,
is it?
yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
using all the cliches that I've heard in The Apprentice for the years. You don't want to be a one-trick pony. You want to have as many strings to your bow, and you always just want to give, you know, just give everything a go. You know, obviously I haven't been the most driven, and I've got, you know, quite lucky, and that's because I've got someone beside me who is, and he
Yeah.
pushes me to you know, come up with more stuff, and um, so yeah, I just think there's no point in life not, you know, like the stuff for the quiz and the bingo. You know, we do stuff that excites you as well, and do stuff that, you know, if with the bingo, when I'm in the zone of wanting to come up with stuff and do stuff, and when I'm really enjoying it, that's when most of my good ideas come from, you know, and I'm just having such a laugh, and you know, coming up with, like, I know it sounds simple, but like, right, let's give away Henry Hoover's, let's do this, people will love it, and you know, all that stuff comes from when you're actually enjoying what you're doing.
Absolutely.
I don't know
Well,
if any of that made sense.
it did. It made complete sense. Just do what you love and keep on doing it, basically, and surround yourself with people who can who are better than you at the things you can't do.
Unless you're going to start a home baking company, I think the market's fluctuated there over lockdown. Everyone's on the home baking. Maybe don't do that.
Yeah, no, don't get into business suits. That's another one. It's probably not the best idea. Oh, Jonny, I've really, really enjoyed chatting to you. Thanks so much. And I know you've got a
No
massive
problem.
weekend ahead of you, and I just wish
Oh,
it was.
I've thought of one more thing.
Oh yeah.
When you're doing agreements and deals, make sure everything's written down on contracts, or you'll end up in a big lawsuit in High Court with Camp and Furnace. So
that is an important
would
one
have
as
all
well.
been so much easier if things were just written down properly.
Always get the
but
details.
we won anyway, so it doesn't matter.
I know you've well, and onwards and upwards for you. Honestly, it's I can't wait. Well, if I manage to get the tickets when they go online tomorrow, I'll be trying. We'll see. But listen, thank you so much for sparing the time. It's been really great talking to you. And
I'll maybe give Elvis glasses a little run out, see if people like them as a prize, but I'm not too sure.
If you want them, they're here. I mean, I don't mind. They could be part of your next sort of step to, you just don't know where they
I was just being polite.
Oh, thanks, Jonny. Well, listen, you take care.
No problem. Good to talk to you.
Thanks a million. Thanks for listening. I really hope you enjoyed this episode of In Conversation with Seriously Motivated Entrepreneurs. I'm on a bit of a mission to provide help and support to small businesses. As well as my podcast, I'm working hard to provide lots of helpful and practical advice to help small businesses get really good at business development and marketing, from free masterclasses and cheat sheets to downloadable guides and consultancy sessions. If you would like to access this information, it's all available on my website, agnesmarketing.co.uk. And if you'd like to join our Facebook community of other small businesses looking to access and share marketing advice, tips and support, please search for Agnes Marketing on Facebook. And would you mind if I ask you something? If you've liked what you've listened to today, can you please rate, review and subscribe to this podcast, as it will help other business owners to find it, and it might just provide the inspiration and motivation they need at this moment in time. Thanks so much.